ekam akaram hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate katham. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hridi vishamanasa swam chinvata ajjata avachalanaro atmanishto Deham pranmaya jadamakam aham bhaktirna tasyastyato naham tattata bhava shukti samaye siddhatma saddha Om Bhavaita Kuto Rathiya Drishta Manishta So Spurtitaya Aruna Chala Shiva Urnu Vibhati Swayam Soham Spurtitaya Aruna Chala Shiva Urnu Vibhati Swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Tuesday satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to meditate on the teachings of Bhagavan by reading through one of the works for about first 20 minutes, then sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 20 minutes, and the last 20 minutes will be a talk by our president, Dr. Sarada, on the teachings and life of Bhagavan, and the satsang will conclude with the chanting of one of the stutis on Bhagavan. We begin this satsang. For the reading part, I have taken an article from Fragrant Petals, which is being read in the morning satsang by Venkatesh Deshpande ji. It is a compendium of articles that were published in Mountain Path quite early in the days of publication of the magazine. This is an account by G.L. Narasimham. GLN is the short name. It is entitled Easy Yet Difficult. Easy Yet Difficult by G.L. GLN. This is a brief account of how my contact with Sri Ramana helped me. Truth transcends individuality. Truth transcends individuality. What I depict is my limited personal understanding of him. My contact with him began in 1930. It was by divine providence, not by my planning, that I was able to spend a continuous period of 3 years at Sri Ramanacentre. It was a great blessing. I was a science graduate. I had learned about the atomic structure of the universe and how matter finally resolves itself into energy, and how the mind is also a form of energy. So, the entire world of mind and matter, when traced to its source, was one uniform energy or God, or whatever one chose to call it. So, the entire world of mind and matter, when traced to its source, was one uniform energy or God, or whatever one chose to call it. This was my attitude of mind when I first went to Sri Ramanacentre. Bhagavan was then translating his Ulladu Narpadu 40 verses into Telugu at the request of Yogi Ramaya. After finishing it, he threw the book to me and said, "You are an Andhra. See if there are any mistakes of grammar in it." This was an act of grace, for it was that translation which was responsible for turning my mind inwards and setting it on the right path. The essence of what Bhagavan said to me in my talks with him was, he is having the temerity and courage to condense Bhagavan's teachings into a small paragraph. So that is why this article was picked up. So that is this paragraph. The essence of what Bhagavan said to me in my talks with him was, the essence starts here. The condensation, according to him, starts here. You say that on final analysis, all that I see or think or do is one. That means what he's saying in this sentence is that the ego, the one, is the condensation or the essence of what all we have seen, what all we have done, and what all the individual has thought of. What all the individual has seen, what all the individual has done, what all the individual has thought of. That is condensed into I. All that I see or think or do is one, the ego. But that really comprises of two notions. But that ego, the condensation or the essence of all that we have seen, done, or thought of, is made of two notions. The all that is seen, thought, and done, and the I that does the seeing, thinking, and doing, and also says I. So the condensed ego, the ego, what it represents is the essence of all the karmas. Stula, Sukshma, condensed into causal, present as the I thought. Each of us, he says, as we identify with the ego, with the I thought, that I thought itself is the condensation of whatever we have seen, whatever we have done, whatever we have known. And the ego has two components, has two notions. One is all that we have seen, done, and thought of, and the I that was doing the seeing, thinking, and doing, as well as says I. The other doing, seeing, and thinking don't have this ability to say I. Deham Mrunmayavad Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirna Tasyastato. It doesn't, none of those have the Aham Buddhi. But the I has not only the ability to see, think, and do, but also say the I. Which of these two is more real, true, and important? Out of the essence of all that we have lived, all that we have done, seen, and thought of in all the possible incarnations we might have taken, or we might possibly take, all that is condensed into this I. That's all. And this I has these two components, the essence of all that we have seen, done, and thought of, as well as the I, which did the seeing, doing, and thinking, as well as has the ability to recognize its existence as I. Which of these two is more real and true and important? Obviously the seer, obviously the I, without which none of the others could have existed. Obviously the seer, since the seen is dependent on it. So turn your attention to the seer, who is the source of your I, and realize that. That is the real task. Up to now, you have been studying the object, not the subject. Now find out for what reality this word I stands for. Find the entity which is the source of the expression I. That is the self of all selves. How beautifully he has summarized the sadhana. Not only that, he has captured the whole of life in one sweep, one sentence, that all that we have seen, all that we have done, all that we have thought of is all present causally in the I thought. This direct, simple teaching, that is to trace the source of the I component in the I thought, this direct, simple teaching was like tonic to me. It swept away the unrest and confusion that till then had haunted my mind. It is, of course, the essence of Ulladu Narpadu and the central theme of all Bhagavan's teachings. The simplicity of it made me burst out. Then Bhagavan, self-realization is very easy, just as you say in the poem Atma Vidya. So in front of Bhagavan, he has expressed like this, how simple it is. Bhagavan smiled and said, yes, yes, it seems so at first, but there is difficulty too. You have to overcome your present false values and wrong identification. Therefore, the quest requires concentrated effort and steadfast abidance in the source when that is reached. So it may appear simple, it is direct, but it is not shortcut. You have to purify the I to first realize the importance of what is stated in this one sentence. The I thought has to be free of the other thoughts, at least to such an extent that it is able to grasp the beauty, simplicity, and directness of the teaching, that all life can be condensed into that I, which itself contains the duality. It's not that duality is present as subject and object. The duality of consciousness and jada, the chit and jada, both are present in one thought. That is the I thought. So there itself, Advitiya attention is brought by Bhagavan. The attention which was from the subject, it was going to the object. Bhagavan says the duality is not like that. Duality is present within the I thought itself. What is the duality? The duality is that it has the pure consciousness as well as it has a body component, the seeing, doing, and thinking component. So the body component has to be dropped. The I component with the Sat and Chit has to be taken to its source. Bhagavan smiled and said, yes, yes, it seems so at first. Seems it is easy, but there is difficulty too. You have to overcome your present false values and wrong identification. False values about the object and wrong identifications about the subject as to what the subject is. Therefore, the quest requires concentrated effort and steadfast abidance in the source when that is reached. However, even while warning me, he also added the words of solace. But don't let that deter you. The rise of the urge to seek for the I is itself an act of divine grace. Don't let that deter you. The rise of the urge to seek for the I is itself an act of divine grace. This is what he says to Kapali Shastrigal. When Kapali Shastrigal says, oh, so I can, by my own effort, by the ego's effort, I can find the self of all. Bhagavan says, yes, however, that very act of realizing that the duality of Chitta and Jada are present in me, inside the I thought, to understand that and to seek the I, the reality of the I, is itself divine grace. Without divine grace, you would nowhere come anywhere near the importance of the teaching nor practice it. So the very fact that you are interested in self-enquiry and you are starting it is only and only because Guru Kripa, the Ishvara's grace, has already been kind and compassionate towards you. The rise of the urge to seek for the I is itself an act of divine grace. Once this urge gets hold of you, you are in its clutches. The grip of divine grace never relaxes and it finally devours you. The grip of divine grace never relaxes and it devours you. The grace devours the individual because all the Jada components in the individual are dropped and the I part of the I thought is taken to the source with grace. That source of the I component itself is grace. Just as the prey in a tiger's jaws is never allowed to escape, so it is between divine grace and the sadhaka of Atma Vichara, says the article. This is the simplest way in which the whole of the teachings can be condensed for us. The author, who is obviously a serious practitioner of Bhagavan's teachings, has condensed the teachings for us, that what we call as I in each one of us is the condensation of whatever we have seen, whatever we have done, whatever we have thought of, whatever we have experienced. All are present in the I thought. That is why the I thought can never know by itself when the karma is going to end. Through the karma area, can I ever come to the end of karma and to come to jnana? Can the ego ever know? Bhagavan himself, when asked by one of the disciples or devotees, Bhagavan, you are the jnani, please tell me when I will get enlightenment. Bhagavan says, if I am a jnani, I see only the undifferentiated consciousness. Therefore, I cannot tell you, because you are not a limited entity. I cannot tell you when you are going to get liberation. If I am an ajnani, then I am like you. I do not know when you are going to get liberation. The net effect is there is no answer for you. There is no answer in this domain as to whether we will end karma. The ego, which is the essence of karma, can never know. The only way it can come to the ending of karma is to come to the self-knowledge, which is to get rid of the duality in itself. The duality is not a seer and seen, but within the seer itself, there are these two components. Within the I thought, the components of all that you have seen, done and thought of, present as Jada, and the I component, which has to be now inquired and taken to the source, which is the Satchitanandam. So we are, for the next 20 minutes, going to sit in the practice of Atma Vicharam. That is, taking that I component to the source. So when thoughts arise, if you follow it, the Jada component increases. So the thought is left by asking, for whom is this thought? The answer will always be, this thought is for me. And the quest, who am I, takes the I component to its source. Let us sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 20 minutes. I have set the alarm here. Okay. Namo Ramana. May I request Dr. Shardaka to give her talk on Bhagavan's life and teachings. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining is the self in all beings. With immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we in this part of the satsang are meditating on the Ramana Gita and the insights which Bhagavan is giving us through the Ramana Gita in our practice of self-enquiry. This Ramana Gita is a record in Sanskrit by Ganapati Muni of questions and answers, questions by various disciples, mainly disciples of the Muni himself, and questions by the Muni, and Bhagavan's answers to these questions. These he has divided into 18 chapters on the lines of Bhagavad Gita, and we are now meditating on the 16th chapter. And the 16th chapter is on bhakti. Apparently, it is a question by the Muni to Bhagavan, though it is not specifically mentioned. The previous chapter, Muni says that he questioned Bhagavan about Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. And then he says, after that, when he was asked about bhakti, Bhagavan started speaking thus. Atma priyastamas samastasya priyam netaradatmanah achinna taila dharavat priti bhaktirudahrita. So he says that the self is dear to all, and nothing apart from the self is dear. So love for the self, which flows like uninterrupted, like the flow of oil, that is really bhakti. That's how Bhagavan starts. He starts with the highest definition of bhakti. Bhakti is love for the self. This reminds us, or it reminds me of a verse in Viveka Chudamani by Adi Shankara, where he says, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhaktirithyabhidiyate. So, bhakti, what is bhakti? He says in Viveka Chudamani, it is Swaswarupa Anusandhanam, ever abiding in the self, ever abiding in one's true nature is bhakti, says Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada. I do recall that we sang this and a few other verses from Viveka Chudamani in the presence of the Jeshta, who is called the Jeshta Mahasannidhanam, Abhinava Vidyatirtha Swami, and he was deeply moved to hear this verse on from Bhagavad Pada on bhakti, that abidance in the self is true bhakti. That is what Bhagavan is telling us over here, love for the self. And what kind of love? Bhagavan says it should be unbroken love. It should be continuous. Bhagavan's emphasis in every sadhana is on continuity of the sadhana, uninterrupted sadhana. In the Appalam song, Bhagavan says, Santatam Salipara Santoshamagave. Santatam, all the time. And this was the guidance given to me, as I said, recall last time also, by Muruganar Swami. He told me, when I asked him about self-enquiry, when I asked him about faith in Bhagavan, or rather faith in Bhagavan as a guru who would guide me for self-enquiry, he said with great emotion, please do put your faith in Bhagavan. That is more than 100% enough. And then he concluded by saying, me, Bhagavan mela mulu nambike vechu panninde iru. Have full faith, complete faith in Bhagavan, and keep on practicing. Keep on practicing. So that is what Bhagavan is telling over here. What is that faith in Bhagavan? The faith comes from love. Faith and love are synonymous with each other. If one has love, one has faith. If one has faith, one has love. That is a simple way we have seen, which is shown very often. Nandakumar tells us about the love and the faith which Mudaliyar party had for Bhagavan. The simple offering of food every day to Bhagavan. In fact, when we see most of the stories in Periya Purana, the great treatise or the great story of 63 Shaivite devotees by Shekiyar, in that we find most of the devotees have simple relationship with God. There may be a fisherman who is a devotee. What will he do? He will offer the first fish he gets to Shiva. How does he offer the first fish he catches to Shiva? By throwing it back into the water. He throws the first fish back into the water. Then whatever he gets, he will keep for himself. And Shiva begins to test him by giving him less and less and less of fish. Actually, no fish. He gets only one fish every day for so many days. He will throw it back into the water. Then he does not get any food, any sustenance. But he is ready to live in that manner. So that is a simple, the continuity of the sadhana is very important. No matter what the sadhana, Bhagavan's first emphasis is on the continuity of the sadhana. Keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Vishwanatha Swami also guided me about the continuity of the sadhana in a slightly different manner. He said, give all your spare time to meditation. I was a college girl, so what would I understand by spare time? Then he never told me this is the meaning of spare time, but he did give a few instances. He said, even when you're having your bath or brushing your teeth or whatever, no matter if you're lying down in bed, at that time also you continue the sadhana. At all times, especially at times when the mind is not necessarily engaged in any specific activity, when the mental attention is not required for a particular activity, when a mechanical activity is going on, very simple, that is spare time for the mind to turn inwards, to be lost in love for the self, or for self-enquiry, or for Bhagavan himself, or his name or form, as Bhagavan will tell us later in this chapter. He continues to say that. Then he goes on to say, Abhinnam swatmatah pritya vijanatishwaram kavihi janannapyaparo bhinnam Leena Atmani Tishtati. Supposing, he says, a devotee does not know that or does not see himself as the self. His love is not for the self, directly for the self, but it is for God, who is seen as apart from himself. He sees God as apart from himself. But through love, what happens? He begins to know that God is not different from him, and he merges in him and then abides in the self. So first Bhagavan starts with direct love for the self, continuous practice of self-abidance through love for the self, because that is only the source of all love, says Bhagavan. There is nothing else that is love. Even if we love the form of God, if we love our own children, our dear people, our dear ones, or our art, or whatever we love, Bhagavan is saying it is only love for the self. But supposing we are having such love for any form of God, for Bhagavan, seeing him as apart from ourselves, Bhagavan says, through the force of that love itself, if that love is again continuous, if that love permeates everything that we do, then what happens is that one merges in the object of the love, and one knows that one is not different from God. When one knows one is not different from God, as Bhagavan has told us in Upadesha Saram, when one knows that there is Abheda Bhavana with God, then one actually has merged into the self. How to have continuous thought of the Supreme? Link everything with the Supreme, no matter what it is, whether it is good or bad. Again, Nandakumar ji often use one example of, if you see everything as Ramana and you call everything Ramana, then the demarcations fade away. Similarly, if one is, it may be that one experiences different emotions. And if we see that all these emotions are only forms of Bhagavan, then the variations disappear. If one sees good also as Bhagavan and bad also as Bhagavan, Bhagavan has given us that verse. He says in Navamanimalai, Enne ivatrai ennuire kurayum gunamum ni allal. Are you not the good and are you not the bad? When you are both good and bad, what am I going to be thinking about the demarcation? Is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Good is also Arunachala, bad is also Arunachala. Everything is Arunachala. When everything is Arunachala, why will I be worrying about whether I should do this or do that? Whether that should come to me or this should come to me, or whether I should go here or go there. When no such thought is there, what happens? When all differences melt away, one automatically merges in the self, says Bhagavan. And then he explains it thus, Vahanti taila dharavat ya priti parameshware anichatopi sa buddhim swarupam nayati dhruvam. He says, even though one who loves God with great passion, with that continuity of love, such a person may not be interested in self-knowledge also. Anichatopi, they may not be thinking about self-knowledge. They are only loving their God. Only thing is, like we see, we see Kau Lakshmi's love for Bhagavan. Just she is just drawn to him like an iron filing to a magnet. As a calf also, she comes away from the moment she has seen him once. She comes from the town on her own and stays there till evening and goes back. Until she delivers a few calves, and then she pleads with Bhagavan one day, I cannot go physically. Again and again, I am pregnant. It is difficult for me to go and come. So please give me a place in the ashram near you. And Bhagavan makes the request to the devotees, can we build a Goshala for Lakshmi? And he also quietly instructs Annamalai Swami how big this Goshala should be. How glorious is the power of a devotee like Lakshmi. So Bhagavan says, if one has such devotion, even if one is not having a desire for liberation or a thought of liberation or the knowledge of what is Jivan Mukti or Enquiry, it does not matter. When this flow of love is there towards God, automatically it will lead to the self. That's what Bhagavan says. When there is this powerful love for him, it will automatically lead to the self. That is what we see in the lives of great devotees. Then perhaps there was a question, what if we do not have this undying love, this love which is so strong that it permeates everything that we do? There's a beautiful song of Dr. A.S. Venugopal Rao, where he says, what is there for me to see apart from Ramana? We have used it to depict Lakshmi's experience of Bhagavan. He sees his everywhere as Ramana. We have used it in a way that all the other cows ask her, you went to Ramanashram and came back. What did you see? What did you experience over there? She says, what can I say about what to experience? Because there's nothing apart from Ramana to experience. I don't see anything apart from him. I don't hear anything apart from him. I don't have an experience of Ramanashramam or the way to Ramanashramam or the way back from Ramanashramam. It is only Ramana. So everyone who plays this part with this song is always moved because everywhere is Ramana alone. But Bhagavan says that even if you pray, say, what if you don't pray like this? If you pray in a limited manner, the suffering is there. So much of suffering is there in this world. Even if you pray for deliverance from affliction, from suffering, says Bhagavan, in the end, you will attain only the Supreme Being. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, there are 4 kinds of devotees whom I have. One is the Jnani, the other is the Jignasu, who has a longing for knowledge. And then there is the Artharthi, who seeks material welfare. And there is the Artha, who is suffering, afflicted and comes to me. So they are all blessed, he says, they're all blessed. But the Jnani is the dearest to me. He is the dearest because we are not apart from each other. But all the others are also my devotees. They are all blessed. And here Bhagavan says that even if you pray to God, even if you think that I am a small alpa, I cannot do anything, I only need the support of God in everything. God is different, God is great, I am small. And even then, if with full faith to rid one of the suffering, if one prays to him, one will ultimately become one with him, says Bhagavan in the 4th verse. In this 5th and 6th verses, he says about this. So the next time when we meditate on this, we'll go into that, because very often we feel, oh, I am not able to be in that state of continuous abidance. My approach is limited. Can I also attain the same state which the great ones have attained? So Bhagavan is saying, yes, there is hope. That's what he has told everyone. And the great ones like Muruganar Swami or Sadhu Swami keep reiterating. Sadhu Swami has a song where he says, Yella piraviyum etru muditte, irudi piraviyil guruvai aditte, kalla kalai idayattil paditte, gati peruvom guru kadalai piditte. Let us hold Bhagavan's feet firm, because here is the answer to all our afflictions. Here Bhagavan is assuring us, says Muruganar Swami, Kachayum Adakenakatti. And even Satyamangalam Venkatramaya says, declares, I will show you the mukti make the rain, says Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate
Namo Ramanaka. We conclude with a small verse of Stuti on Bhagavan. Antaryascha bahirvidutadtimiram Jyotirmayam Shashvatam Sthanam Prapya Virajate Vinamatam Ajnanamunmulayan Pashyan Vishwamapidamullasatiyo Vishwasya Pare Paraha Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantre Namaha. Namo Ramana.